Dom, are you ready for Seoul Station?
You know I am. You know I am. I'm already always ready for animation. Throw zombies into it. I'm there every
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Well, this was your pick, so let's get right into it, and let's have you give the intro.
Yeah, so this is a 2016 feature-length animation offering from Yeon Sang-ho. And if that name sounds familiar, it probably doesn't because it's not a household name. But if that name does sound familiar, it's because that's the person that also directed Train to Busan,
Which is a great movie.
which is a great movie. And these two movies are directed by the same person. I believe they're written by the same person, um, and they're in the same universe. Seoul Station is a prequel to Train to Busan, and they were both released in 2016 within like 6 months of each other.
Huh,
So,
I know
so
that.
work on production must have been going on concurrently.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Um,
it's definitely a different one for me. I mean, I don't think necessarily of animation films being like normally horror.
and that's what struck me about this film. This has been, on my list, one of the ones I've been wanting to choose for this channel for a long time, mainly because I've never seen another feature like this. I've rarely seen animated horrors, and then this one throws in a bunch of social commentary.
Right, right. Yeah,
So
yeah,
so it's a very different offering. It's far from a perfect movie, like many of the things I choose. I chose it because it's just an oddity.
right, right. Well, there's things about it, like a lot of films, there's things about it that I liked, and there's things about it that I didn't like. And I mean, that's not a terrible criticism of the film. Some of
No,
it
I
is
mean
just,
it's again, it's not a perfect film. You want to find faults, believe me, I can list off several.
yeah. Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, one of the biggest faults that I have with it, and that is, and it's the same thing. I have the same criticism of Train to Busan because they both have pretty dark endings, and
Mhm.
I I mean, this is just me and my peculiarities, but like I don't like when main characters, and especially characters that you've grown to like, and
Mhm.
end up dying. And so that's one thing I will say for anyone that, if you haven't seen this movie and
Thi-
you're listening to us talk about it, um, be of a mind that you are going to, just like Train to Busan, you're going to see a lot of people that bite the bullet.
this is by far one of the darkest movies I've ever seen. And for an animation to be in that category, I'm
Yeah,
comparing it to all the movies I've ever seen across the board. This is in the top 10 of the darkest.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
it's another reason why I chose it is because I've rarely seen horror movies end like this.
yeah.
I've never seen an animated horror end like this.
Well, it's also, I mean, I love, we you said it at the start, and I love my zombie movies also, and it's just definitely a treat to to watch a good zombie. I just rewatched the remake of Night of the Living Dead,
Ah, okay, yep.
and which when the first time I saw that, I thought it was actually a decent remake, and I still think it's a decent remake, um, considering that it's a remake of a movie that I truly love, and I'm a purist, so I tend to like the original. But again, I thought they did a good job with it, and again, I like my zombie movies. This is, and I look at animation a little bit differently. It's like there's film and then there's animation, and
It's an alternate genre.
yeah. Um, they are one and the same in the sense that a good animation film is a film, and so that's something I kind of get a little bit of a log jam there just because I'm old and cranky. but but um but no, as far as the film goes, it's quite good, and I was actually not so much surprised, but just I was gladdened, let's say, that it drew me into the characters and
Yes.
especially, and I don't know the names of any of the the characters in this, but the chick that's right behind me, that's right
Mhm.
behind my head, um, her plight is she's you actually really get drawn in. She's being put out on the street by her own boyfriend, and there's a whole thing that you find out about her. Her father, her father is supposedly looking for her. There he is, there in the stripe, the
And we
horizontal
are
stripe.
spoiler alert.
Yeah,
You can say the twist ending.
yeah. Well, the twist ending, of course. If you haven't seen this, I would say
Let me
watch it.
give the general synopsis.
Yeah, give the. We went right into the
Yeah,
film, so
went right into this.
yeah.
So we follow that woman. Um,
Young
who is
girl,
that?
actually, she's a girl. She's actually quite young.
Uh, she's young. I don't know if we ever find out how old she is, but uh, and I'm gonna be butchering these names because this is set in Seoul, as the
Yeah.
name would imply. So this is in South Korea. The woman's name is Hai Sun, I believe, and she ran away from home. What has been prostituting herself, putting herself on the street. She
Well, she has been put on the street.
she has been put on the street. She finally finds a boyfriend, which I think she hopes that will change the situation.
You're
It
right.
does not. He's out of work himself. He has no way of making money, so he is encouraging her to go back on the street. She's naturally unhappy.
Encouraging her. Yes.
So she leaves. They have a fight. She leaves. She's walking the street, though not in a working capacity.
You're right. Right.
In the meantime, her father
Yeah.
sees her picture online
This
because the
is
boy.
we're gonna set the record for air quotes,
Yeah, exactly.
which is something that annoys me, but at the same time, it suits the purpose for this one. Keep going.
So her boyfriend is putting photos of her online to advertise her. And her father sees it, gets in touch with the boyfriend. So
Her
most of the
father.
mo- so
Yes. Go
most
ahead.
of the movie is the father and the boyfriend looking for the girl during a blossoming zombie apocalypse.
Right. Yeah.
This
Worst
is the
possible
very
time.
start of it.
Yeah. And it's funny how it does. And again, for an animation movie, um, one of the things that I did find um, it was surprisingly effective how much you got drawn into the characters because her in particular and the father because a father looking for his daughter
It's
and
compelling.
it's compelling, it really is, and also a girl trying to escape a bad life like this, like she was trying to do, is also something that is really draws you in, and you're really hoping and rooting the whole time that they're going to connect, and in the midst of this giant world-changing disaster of zombies taking over. And you're wondering, like, even if they get together, is anyone going to live, and what's going to be the outcome of all this? But it surprisingly drew me in and made me feel for these characters. You do find out later that the that the Some of the
Father.
characters, yeah, aren't what they, air quotes again, aren't what they seem to be. Um, and again, if you haven't seen the movie, I don't honestly, there's so much going on in this movie, and there's so many other like smaller characters. I don't think it's going to ruin it for you, even if we do,
No,
you
no.
know, tell you some of the plot lines and some of the things going on. If you if it that kind of thing is going to ruin it for you, you shouldn't be watching something called spoiler alert, because that's what we're all about. We talk about a film to death, so
Well,
hopefully,
also, let me point out, as I said in the short, this movie isn't for everyone. The
yeah,
number one, it's animated, and animation turns a lot of people off. Number two, it's got subtitles, and likewise,
yeah,
subtitles tend to turn a lot of people off.
yeah,
So if you're in that small category of people that enjoy watching animated horror with subtitles,
yeah, yeah.
then you're going to like this movie nonetheless. The twist at the end is a twist at the end, but it doesn't dominate the movie. It doesn't really change the movie.
No, no, it doesn't. I honestly, my my biggest bitch with this movie is probably the fact that one of the characters who I really came to actually like and want to see her um, actually come out ahead.
She goes through so much.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I think bothers me the most if I'm watching a movie, particularly a horror movie. But if I'm watching a movie and I see a character that does go through a lot, um, my gut feeling is always I want this person to actually come out ahead. I want some catharsis for
Mhm.
what we were put through.
Well, you
And
got a form of catharsis.
yeah, to tell you the truth, the best thing I would say, um, and I'm trying not to be like too ridiculous about giving it away, but I would say my biggest thing is one of the villains in this, um, because it ends badly. Don't look for a happy. And with the zombie movie, probably if you like zombie movies, if you're like us and you like zombie movies, probably you understand that zombie movies don't often have like heartwarming endings. If you got into a show like The Walking Dead or whatever, there's a few of them out there. But if you got into a show like that, you understand that characters that you grow to really like. Um, the Walking Dead. Who's the Asian dude that's in The Walking Dead? He was
Oh,
one of
do
my
you want
favorite.
the actor or the name of the
Well, the
character?
name of the character I was thinking more.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know the actor is Steve Luen, I
yeah.
believe.
Well, that's
Um,
probably enough. But he was a regular character for a long time till deep into the show. Probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite
well,
characters.
I mean, he saves the main one of the main characters at the very start in the
Yeah,
first episode.
he's central to me and I get it, they're following along with a graphic novel and all that, but at the same time, it was like you changed other stuff with the about the graphic novel. You merged some characters together to create. It's like, did you have to kill him off? Because he was one of the coolest, one of the best characters, and you fell for the dude. And so when he ended up dying off, it was like I'm about done with the show now. It was like it was that bad. It was, it was I thought he was a great character, and so like I said, that's probably one of my and I get it. If you like zombie movies, you shouldn't be bitching about that aspect because
I
that's what
mean,
happens
anyone can die at any time. You
in a
should
zombie
just
movie.
accept that.
Yes, and it's part of what makes the movies as compelling as they are because you don't know who's going to go next and how they're going to go, and so that
And you really don't. I think this movie, for an animated film, the tension was high. you never knew what was around the corner or when someone was going to drop.
Oh yeah, yeah. And actually, there were a few scenes. This is one of the scenes. They're walking, and I don't know. I've heard enough about that third rail and the in subways that I would not be walking down the center. And I don't know. Maybe the South Korean rail lines are a little different, but I would not be walking down the middle of a subway line. For one thing, just in case there's a train full of zombies headed your way. But the other thing is just the idea that you could get, you know, electrified suddenly. I tend to stay to one side or the other. I don't know. I've never had to walk down a subway line.
And I hope I never
Thankfully,
have
I
to.
know. Same, same. But this particular scene here that's behind me was one of the scenes that I was actually when all of a sudden the zombies, and that's one of the things in zombie movies. Once they start to notice you, then everybody's like coming, and so this one here had a mix. Like some of the zombies had a little bit of a, they still could understand to use a tool or something, if nothing else, just to grab a stick and bang with it or something. But they also sometimes would pound against stuff, and if enough of them started doing it, then they'd break through.
Hmm.
So this scene here, and I thought this is not going to be good if they break through here because they're trapped in this tunnel and they didn't really even know where they were going. They're just kind of like following their. She's kind of following him, um, and but like I kept thinking that glass is going to break, and then they're going to start pouring through the glass, and these people are going to have to run for their lives. So that scene there I found a little bit terrifying, but there were a lot of scenes that for like I would say one of my biggest problems with anime, and I love animation, and I grew up watching Warner Brothers cartoons and Tom and Jerry cartoons, Bugs, the whole bit, Disney. I love cartoons, but but with animation, like I don't expect to get as drawn in with the like the a scary one, say. And this one actually, like there were times where I was like, "Holy shit!" Like what's going to happen next? It's like
This was a very effective movie.
yeah. So for all my little criticisms of this, I would say it was quite effective. Um, One thing I did not, I don't know what your take on this was, but one thing I did not quite realize, we see homelessness in America and we see people sleeping on the streets and druggies and all kinds of, and we don't do a great job of dealing with it at all in this country. And I'm not going to get too far into that aspect. However, um, I actually ended up looking up a little bit about homeless in other countries because I had no idea that South Korea was dealing with this problem also,
Oh yeah.
and they are. And I was looking up like what countries were dealing with it most effectively. Finland, surprisingly, is one of the top ones, and one of their reasons for it. And I do own stock in Boxable, which is a, a new up and coming housing company that makes fold out houses. It's rather cheap, and so I'm not like trying to hype my
You're trying to
stock.
manipulate the market
I
using
know
our
I'm
channel.
manipulating the market, and they are going public, by the way, very shortly. But this is not actually me trying to manipulate the market. However, when I
That
looked up
name again is Boxable.
Boxable, Boxable, but located out of Vegas. But no, I'm joking here. I'm not trying to push that. What I was going to say though is one of the reasons why Finland seems to do as well as they do with, and you have to add in things like mental illness and stuff like that. But for why people are on the street, drug addiction, all kinds of stuff. But their primary focus in Finland is to, and I'm not hyping Finland either. but but no, their primary focus seems to be that they believe that everybody is entitled to housing
Hmm.
and some type of proper housing, and so that they make that their primary focus, which is
Yeah,
one
the
of the reasons.
housing first movement has really proven effective.
Yeah, and so this, like I said, this was something that it actually made me think, just because of the fact that, like you said, there is social commentary in this, and but it did make me think about it because I was like, wow, I kind of, you when you're from a certain country, and as
I mean, we're going to be America centric. That's
right, and naturally, and of course, a lot of times Americans, one of our faults is that we USA, we push the America first kind of thing and all that. So, for better or worse, and so anyway, like I said, I just thought of it more as I know it happens in other countries, but I didn't think of it as like being as prevalent in certain countries. Um, but yes, it did make me look at the idea of it, and yes, there are a lot of other countries that some of the African countries, which I mean, I guess it's a given, but I didn't even think of it as much. But yeah, they have terrible problems with homeless in a lot of African countries, but certainly we have a huge problem with it. But
the,
South Korea does.
the whole subject of wealth disparity and social consciousness has been like a theme throughout this director's career. His first movie was an animated film called King of Pigs
Right.
that dealt with the effects of long-term bullying
Huh.
and its overall effects on society as a whole. Then there was this one, which again, uh, how how much the homeless are discounted in that culture is front and center for this movie. It's one of the things that allows the zombie spread to happen as easily as it does because no one listens to these
No.
homeless people when they start trying to tell them things.
Well, the scene behind me right here is one of the cops, and they rush into at one point. The girl and some of the homeless people rush into the police station to try to say, "Look, there's a real problem out here. There's people that are going insane."
There's
And
homeless people attacking.
yes, and so they immediately blame it on the homeless, and which yes, it probably struck the homeless quarter first because they were the most vulnerable and they were on the street. However, it was affecting everybody. And the guy that's behind you, I don't think he was a homeless guy. He was just a regular Joe trying to probably get home on the subway. And so, like I said, everybody's getting affected by it. But as soon as the cops see the homeless people coming in, it's like, okay, you people get out of here.
Hmm.
Like you dirty, unwashed
And then like
people.
near the end of the film, where those people are trapped in that area, the zombies are on one side and the military is on the other.
Yeah, yeah,
That one guy loses it and he says, I don't belong with you. I've worked hard all my life. I've worked for the country.
yeah, yeah,
I'm a good person. And one of the homeless people points out, I'm the same as you.
yeah, yeah. And there's all kinds of reasons. That's one thing that I definitely learned over time. Not that I ever had like it wasn't like I walk around with ill feelings towards homeless people. Um, and I think there's some people that are probably less responsible that end up homeless, but there's also a lot of people that are just victims of circumstance.
Mhm.
Sometimes they talk about how the average person, I was going to say the average American, but thinking of it in global terms, the average person is probably a paycheck or two
Oh
away
yeah.
from being on the street. And I'm a person. I mean, I live alone, and I know how vulnerable I am, and what could happen with my own circumstances. So I think we all kind of, if you really are willing to at least put your mind in someone else's place, you can see that you could just be that person, and you
There,
could
but
end
for
up
the grace of God, go I.
exactly. So, like I said, um, I think the film did a fairly effective job of making you think about some of those things, and because I often don't myself, and I don't think the average person really does, but so in a lot of ways, I think this film was pretty effective, both on a horror level, in the sense of it could be truly frightening at different times, and then there's other times where you're actually, again, you're feeling for these characters. So for many
And they
reasons,
leaned into the what has become somewhat of a zombie theme in that, yes, these are undead monsters who are looking to literally eat you. So
yeah,
yeah, that's not good, but you almost have more to fear from your fellow human.
yeah, 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 because people take advantage of, let's face it, like, I mean, talking about like gun ownership and stuff like that. One of the reasons why I do, I mean, there's many reasons. I enjoy going to the range
Mhm.
and target shooting, but also I also think of the, what if the shit ever hits the fan? And I'd like to have something that if I have to defend one time a person said something to me, um, that many years ago they were talking about the idea of like, well, we're one crisis away from chaos. It doesn't have to be a zombie outbreak. It could be just that some disaster
It
happens.
could be mass crop failure. It could
Sure,
be
or a nuclear war, an accident.
another pandemic.
Yeah, anything like that. I mean, they've actually, during that pandemic, I was there were times I had a few people ask me like, "Do you know where I can buy a gun?" and and I was like, "You're kind of coming a little late to the party. If you're looking for one now, the stores are all sold out, and I can't give you a gun." It's like, I don't know how effective you are using one, and if I do give it to you, what you're going to do with it. It's like I'm not just going to like hand you over one of my guns. But like I said, what this person said to me was, because I was talking about how, like, oh, it's not a bad idea to have a little bit of things on hand for stock, a few canned goods or whatever. And the person was saying, I got guns. I don't need to have food. I'll just take yours. And I was like, really, you think so? But yeah, that is unfortunately the attitude that people have in situations where society is breaking down. Is
And so, viewers, welcome to our darkest episode.
really, and this is all
Uh,
Dom's fault.
it's my fault, and I'm telling you, this movie is dark enough. It's got us discussing the literal apocalypse.
Right, exactly, and that is why, um, like I said, for any little criticisms that I have of this, I have to say it's a well done film, and I'll give it the credit of really calling it a film. It's not just an animation film; it's a film, and it's quite
You know
effective.
what the number one complaint about this film has been
What
online?
what's that?
How no one closes doors.
Well,
Everyone's like, you could have escaped if you had just
I
closed the
I
door.
I saw that, and I was actually noticing it. I was watching the movie, and I was sitting there thinking, why didn't she close that door? Why did he close that door? It's like, what are you, crazy? And one person had commented, well, she knew they were doomed already, and it's like, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
You're running for your life, and you're hoping for the best, and so you don't know the outcome until it happens. I mean, it's like saying, well, no one knows how they're going to die, unless you've been given a prognosis that's terrible, then you don't know how you're going to die. So as far as like running for your life, yeah, close the door, lock it, do something that's going to at the very least slow the person down. And so yeah, I would say my biggest, if I'm going to, have a criticism of something for this movie, my biggest criticism is probably just the criticism that happens in all zombie movies where characters that you like end up dying.
Mhm.
And I had the same Train to Busan. I was really upset that the father, who had really come through a big, he had come through a really big character change. He really
He
learned
died the
like what,
hero.
yeah, yeah, and ends up like getting bitten and realizing, okay, he has to turn his daughter over to a woman. And it was, to me, that was like, it was heartrending that he
Mhm.
had to turn her over to someone just when they were starting to actually like repair what was going on in their relationship, where he was always busy, was always concerned with his career, with things that were going on outside of his relationship with his daughter. And he finally comes to the realization what's important, and it's too late. And so, like I said, that was probably my biggest criticism of that and this.
So,
But go.
so, so Train to Busan, Seoul Station, same director, same
Yeah,
writer. Train to Busan was his first live action movie.
really, really,
Yes.
wow. Well, he did it right with if that was his first,
Oh
because
my God, knocked it out of the park.
yeah, really did. And I honestly, I would love to see more out of him, more zombie.
Well, have you seen Peninsula?
Um, I I don't think I've seen Peninsula. I think I saw a trailer.
Oh
Um,
man, I tried to watch it
oh, it's
and I
bad.
couldn't even make it to the film.
Wow. Well, that's sad. Yeah, that's sad. I no, I what's the give a real, or give us a real brief synopsis of Peninsula, because I offhand I can't think of what that was about. Do you know the
Well, I mean, basically, as the name would imply, the zombie apocalypse is going on, and a segment of the population has basically set up a defensible position along a peninsula.
okay. Oh, okay. Actually, I think I do now that I'm really
There's an escape ship that is being boarded. Someone that's infected gets on the ship without anyone knowing. Rinse and
right.
repeat.
Yeah, yeah. No, I now that you say that, I think I do, and I agree. It's not as effective as Train to Busan or this. Um, now, one of the things that was kind of cracking me up at the same time, I was like, geez, I wish somebody would do something quick, because when the cops were in that, or at least one of the cops, no, there were two, and one of the cops ends up getting bitten, and he starts to, and he's already pulled out his
Man,
pistol.
that was a tense situation.
It really was. And finally somebody rushed him and got the gun away from him. But but it was like, first of all, he was already threatening people. He didn't know who the real enemy was. He didn't know what was going on.
Well, I mean, he was already delirious.
Yeah, he was freaking out and everything. So, but when he really started to change, I thought, wow, if he's got enough like memory reflex, he starts pulling the trigger. He's the one good thing, and it was also a bad thing. He had a revolver, and
Hmm.
I don't know what their carry weapon is in
Yeah, I have
Korea,
no idea what a standard sidearm for
but
law
I would think they
enforcement.
were using semi-autos for the most part. So I would think that the revolver was something, a weapon of choice for him. But I mean, it actually made it more effective, because they only had a few rounds, and he had already fired off like three, four of them. I think there was only a couple left.
There were two left. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had two zombies and then in the place to deal with. So, and they only partly had a there were only a few people that kind of had it in their minds that you had to shoot them in the head. So, so that was the other thing, because a lot of rounds were being wasted with shots to the chest. But if you're ever in a zombie outbreak, people, remember A shot to the head kills the zombie. A blows to the head. You've got to kill the brain. That's the only way to.
Although not all zombie movies are like that. I'm trying
That's
to think of
true.
one. I recently saw one where you could take the brain out and it would not stop these things.
Yeah. And these were, that was another thing I kind of liked about this. These zombies were not exactly slow. Um,
No.
they were a mix of fast and slow. And they also, some of them had more situational awareness where they where they actually would pick something up and use it as a tool, and others were just like mindlessly going about their zombie business. But
Zombie business.
yeah, the business at hand,
Yeah,
which
here on zombie business.
yeah, it's like what's the I'm here to chew gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of gum or something. Whatever that line was, which is a great line, by the way. But no, this Dom, good choice. It was a fun movie.
It's funny. I was talking about this movie with a friend of mine last night, and he was asking me about like, well, you know, when was the first zombie movie? And we're talking what, 1931 or
Oh yeah,
something
it was way
for White
back.
Zombie?
Yep, way back.
And
Yeah, it was actually it's hard to believe, but people were thinking of zombies way
but the
back
thing
then.
is they weren't the zombies we know today. George Romero changed it all with Night of the Living Dead.
Yes, yep. Yeah, that was a like a renewal of what, and it kind of set the zombie rules.
Hmm.
Also, the idea of you have to kill the brain, the idea that they're after living flesh, living
Hmm.
brains, things like
Yeah, because
that.
prior to that, they weren't eating people.
No, no, and the it also became like true peril if you were one of the living, whereas they kind of they kind of were just like wandering around, you know, killing whatever in the original ones, but they kind of they kind of had there were rules, just like there kind of are rules for vampires, and they people break those rules all the time. Vampires or werewolves or whatever, but I tend to be more of a purist when it comes to I was actually offended when I saw the first Fast Zombies,
No,
and
no. What do you consider the first Fast Zombies? What movie?
I'm trying to think. What was the
I'm
one where
thinking
everyone was.
28 Days Later.
Yeah, it was well, what was the one? No, what was the first one when they people were using the line "zombies don't run"? That was the big criticism for all the purists like myself out there.
Oh, I
Uh,
don't, I remember the line. I don't remember what movie that was
I believe it was
referring
back
to.
in the '90s, and I can't think of it offhand. Which I'm sorry for. We'll have to look it up in the next zombie movie we do, or put a link.
Zombie trivia.
Yeah, put in a link to Zombies Don't Run, because I know there were purists out there that were as
And
offended as
if any viewer out there knows when the first Fast Zombies were, let us know in the comments.
yeah, and I mean we could probably come up with it, or we will, but yeah, if anyone would comment, that would be great. We'd like to hear comments. And
Particularly comments that correct us.
Exactly, exactly, because we're amateurs, just like anyone that's watching this, or most people maybe that are watching this, and so we make mistakes. We remember what we remember, and
I rely on our viewers to keep us honest.
seriously, and I mean, I'm old, so I make mistakes all the time, but just like this old guy behind me here. But yeah, like I said, correct us if you would. And I think both Dom and I both love zombie movies. It's whether it's something like Shaun of the Dead. Um, I love it when there's also a little bit of humor in a zombie movie too, and that's why like Shaun of the Dead, different ones like there's tons of movies like that that were quite effective they would not only give you some chills, but they give you the laughs too, you know. And it's yeah, that scene, you don't want to be, you really don't want to be in a cell with when there's a bunch of zombies either around you or in the cell with you.
I know. And I gotta say, the first time I saw this movie, the very first time I was watching this, and I'm like, I have no idea how they're getting out of this alive.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, part of the whole thing, because I always think whenever you see a person that's all of a sudden they're dealing with zombies around, whether they're fast or slow, if you're in an enclosed place, the first thing I'm thinking of in the movie is what would I grab for a weapon? But when you're in a cell, what are you going to use for a weapon?
Yeah.
There's you're really they design cells so that things like you might be able to grab the lid off of a toilet and use that if you were in a bathroom, or you know what, I grab a chair, a table, something that you can use to just beat the person down with. But if you're in a jail cell, everything is designed so that you can't do those things. So
Yeah. I mean, your fight or flight kicks in. You can't do either.
no, no, not at all. And I mean, the whole idea of the jail cell is designed so that you can't get out of it. And and when they're either trying to get in or you're trapped with them, you're screwed. So yeah, I was really thinking of that. And that was another thing that was effective with that scene was how you know, you all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, these people are in so much trouble here." Yeah, but including the cops that got stuck with them because
Oh my God, yes.
you know they were confused. They had no idea what was going on. It was I mean, they were coming into it totally cold. At least like the girl that and the guy that are right to your side there in the jail cell, those two, um, they at least had some knowledge of what was, they had seen some stuff, they knew what was happening. And he actually figured out a lot of stuff. Uh, it was funny. I noticed that she immediately, like, she realized, like, okay, this guy actually has a little bit of his shit together enough that he was. She immediately started following him, like, I'm with this guy.
Well, that's one of the things. Like, at the very start, we see the homeless as an underclass. They're not respected. They're desperate. They don't have great living situations. But then, when all heck breaks loose,
Yeah,
they're the ones that know how to deal with
yeah,
stuff. When
yeah.
life hands them, absolute crap, they're used to it and they
Oh yeah.
know how to deal.
Well, and that's the thing. It's, you know, I mean, a person on the street is going to be much more effective at staying alive
Hmm.
than the average person that's living a comfortable, you know, a comfortable life that they don't have to think about those things. Whereas a person on the street is always thinking like, what's going to happen to me next? Uh,
Okay, this woman was
yes.
one of the other tense scenes of the
Oh
movie.
yeah,
Do you
absolutely.
remember this? She's at the end of the corridor. No one knows what she is.
Yeah. Oh, well, as soon as I saw her, because you always there's tons of zombie movies where you see somebody and you're trying to figure out like, is this person actually a real zombie, or do they just look funny, or what the deal is? And I mean, if you want to go ahead and spoil it, go ahead. But it's I kind of equate that scene to the scene in REC.
Yeah.
You know the scene in REC with there's an old woman. She's in a nightgown and she just starts like running at them at one point, and she's big, and it's like, oh no, because she was trouble. And I mean, that group was largely firefighters, and
Hmm.
they weren't cops, they weren't armed, they
They
were
weren't combat trained. They weren't used to
no,
dealing with attacks.
no, they were just like, and their whole thing for coming in there was to try to help people. They didn't come in there with the idea like, let's put down this whatever's going on here. They came in with the idea that, oh, there's people that need help in here. And so they came in totally with that idea. And when they saw the woman, even, it was like, normally they're thinking, okay, well, let's get her vitals, maybe get her transported to a, get the EMTs out here and let's get her transported safely to a hospital. And they're not prepared for a woman running at them that's big and in a zombie rage. So as soon as I saw her, I thought of that scene and I was like, oh no, it's going to be another one of these again. Um, but yeah,
There were a shocking amount of twists and turns in this movie, I
yeah,
thought.
and characters that popped up that either briefly or for long term that actually like they drew you into these characters, and I would say that's what's so effective about it.
And them switching the viewpoint from the girl to the dad and the boyfriend back and forth, I thought
Yeah,
was great.
well, and that was another thing. I was like, I was really shocked about the whole thing because there's the dad and the boyfriend behind me, and the the dad. We've been doing this annoying figure. I'm sorry to everyone that out there that's seen our our air quotes way too many times, but we're
Oh,
trying to
come on.
break the
I
record.
love doing air
Yeah, we're
quotes.
trying to set the record for air quotes in this one. But no, I was like so damn angry with the father because when you find out what he really is,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
so and I'm trying not to. I mean, we go into this with the idea we are spoiler alert. We're talking about the film. We're gonna spoil the plot for you.
We
But
don't want to spoil it,
yeah,
but we set that up because inevitably we're probably going to spoil
and
it.
the biggest criticism a lot of times that people get when they do something like what we're doing is, oh, really, you had to go and spoil the plot for us. And so we called ourselves spoiler alert
It's
because,
right in the name.
right. And so as soon as somebody says it, oh, thanks for spoiling the plot, it's like, well, we are called spoiler alert. So,
Don't make me tap the
yeah,
sign.
and don't make us use air quotes. Spoiler alert. but but no. So like I said, it's getting back to the movie. Um, I definitely this was one of my favorite scenes. The probably one of my other favorite scenes, and it was also a scene that got me kind of angry too. Was the scene when they're trying to, and that I felt bad for that poor guy too because he came back to help her. This is the scene.
Yep.
Um, they had to the only way one guy out of that whole crowd of it was a mixture of homeless and people that were just caught up in this, and they're caught between a group of cops that had come in to put down the I don't know what they thought it was. I don't know if they thought it was some kind of violent riot or whether they thought it was an actual zombie outbreak. But they're basically they started using water cannons on them first, which to me was the most effective thing you could use on a crowd. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to hurt them too much, but it's going to make them get back at the very least. But then they bring out the guns, and it's like, okay, well, stick to the water cannons. But on the other side of them, of course, is the zombies, and the people that are caught in the middle are like, just let us through. There's zombies on the other side, so they're terrified. They've got threats on both sides. This one guy figures out, wow, I think I can use this as a ladder, climb up, and then go across the wires and get out of there. And so and the girl is watching what he's doing, and she's like, wow, he's actually got a great idea. So she starts, oh, that scene was freaky too. Um, but yeah, so like I said, he tries to at one point when she's like that's where she's holding on with one hand and she's like, wow, I can't get my other hand up here to grip, and he's trying to help her, and he climbs down and actually gets on the line to pull her across, and his legs are longer than hers, and he gets pulled down into the zombies, and it's like, oh no. Um,
Yeah, the one good Samaritan, the one guy that actually tries to help their fellow
I
human.
think that was probably the really the only person in the entire movie that really did something as a
Mhm.
completely selfless act. Um, I mean, there's scenes where people are trying to help each other, but that was probably the most selfless act that anybody did, and of course he ends up dying because of it. But which again, you're probably going to die anyway in a scenario like that. I'd rather die doing something to help somebody than I would like just trying to save my own butt and still dying as a result. But yeah, now when he made this movie, I see the scene behind you. When he made this, um, was Train to Busan already made?
I believe so.
Okay, so this
Because
was
again, they were released 6 months apart.
yeah. Okay, that was my question, and it makes a lot of sense, and it also helps to tie in all the stuff that's going on because when you get dropped into Train to Busan, the zombie outbreak is already happening,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like okay, well you almost like with a lot of zombie movies, you just take it for granted. Okay, something caused the zombie outbreak. It doesn't
Who
it doesn't
caused the
really
zombie outbreak?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm expecting it to happen anytime. It's,
Mhm.
it's. I I've seen people, and not to knock people on that become victims of drug addiction, but I've seen like some of the scenes of like in I think there's a YouTube channel called I'll give them a hype for I think it's called Streets of Philadelphia, and they film people. Most of them are fentanyl addicts, but they're bent over on the streets. So they call that what the fentanyl crawl, and it's tragic. You see these people, you think, okay, if you wonder whether they're zombies or whether people could be zombies, these people look like zombies. I mean, it's scary how badly the drugs affect them. So so yeah, like I said, I think to myself, we're not too far off from something like that happening to begin with. So if you ever think to yourself, oh, that would never happen, well, I don't know.
Well,
It
we
could.
we we could go on and on about our love of all things zombies. At least I
Yeah,
know I could, but
I could.
I'm gonna call it right now. My choice. So obviously, I'm giving it two thumbs up, two dark thumbs up.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when I was watching this, and I probably when I was maybe a third of the way into the movie, I was thinking, well, this is entertaining, but and it was before it really pulled me in. And I was thinking, I'm only going to give like one and a
Mhm,
half.
mhm.
And I probably halfway through, I was like, no, it's going to get the two thumbs up. So I couldn't do it because it drew me in too much. The
This movie
characters drew
grabs
me
you.
in. When I leave a movie that I'm actually dissatisfied with losing some characters that I liked, and there's a lot of movies that I love that happens in, and this was one of them. And so like I said, once I realized, okay, this actually has affected me that much that I uh, feel so strongly about it. I was like, it did it to me. It really it touched me. It affected me in a lot of different ways, and there's some legitimate scares in this movie. So it's
Yeah,
I would
I always tell people like this movie isn't for everyone, but if you're a fan of zombies and you can deal with subtitles, this is worth a watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta say, good film, good choice, Tom. You did us right with this one. I think people, if you haven't seen this movie, give it a look.
It's on
It's
Tubi.
Yeah, it's available in a few places, but definitely on Tubi. And thank God for Tubi because there's so many movies that you otherwise would have to pay for or whatever. And Tubi, you're watching some ads, but they bring you so much. So we don't get paid. We're not, sponsored by Tubi or any. No one sponsored us. Please, somebody sponsor
Please
us.
sponsor us.
Yeah. But having said that, like I said, it's Tubi is a great place to check out a lot of movies that you would otherwise not get a chance to see. If you haven't seen this one, give it a watch. Seoul Station, it's a lot of fun. And Dom, good choice. Um,
Thank
and
you, thank you. But now, balls in your court,
yep, and
or I should say, the jack-o'-lantern.
yeah, exactly. And this is this our actually our last October?
Yeah, the last one before Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to tell you the truth, I'm actually because there are some other I could go on and on with horror, but I like a change of pace too. And I actually am at the point now. I watched a couple of movies the other day that I was like, man, I'm ready to move to like some other and not just be tied to horror, which we've been doing for the month of October.
Mhm.
And so there is next week is another horror one, and I do have the movie down that I picked. I hope it's one that Dom is ready to watch. I know you've seen this before. Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Oh, yes.
So you've talked about this one before. It's one that I truly really love.
Oh, I love
Um,
this movie.
yes, it's a good movie. It's it has a eerie quality to it.
It's
It's not.
ethereal.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. There's some terrific lines in it. There's the lighting. There's so much. We'll have to wait till next week to talk about it. But there's so much in it.
It's haunting.
It
If
is
one word, it is haunting.
absolutely. So anyone that has not yet seen Picnic Hanging Rock, it's a must movie for people who love creepy gothic.
Based
It's
on true events.
yes, it's set in Australia, in some really eerie, weird places. Um, it's basically set in a girls' school, like a private boarding school, um, and there's some creepy characters, very gothicy. It's
But
got
we'll
the
discuss it much more
yes
when we
next
do the
week.
video.
So we'll wrap this up. People, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't. Please share the channel and do what you can. We get it. Some people leave. I've noticed past couple of videos. I've noticed some dislikes. If you dislike what we do or the movie we're talking about, or if there's something that tweaks you, it's we get it. People are going to leave it. You start watching something, and sometimes you just go, I can't stand this, and you just leave a dislike for whatever
But also
reason. If
leave
you
a
don't,
comment. If you want us to make the videos longer or
yeah,
shorter, if you want
if
us to
there's
talk
some,
about different movies, let us know.
yeah, because you're much more effective if you give a dislike and you just leave. Then we have no idea. Like it's like,
What didn't they
yeah,
like?
was it my breath? Was it my face?
What was it our product placement?
Yeah, or was it our air quotes? Was it too much air quotes? um, so whatever it is, leave a comment if you would, and just say, you guys suck. If it's just then we think, okay, well, they just don't like us. But and I get it. I don't like myself either sometimes. But but no. So, all jokes aside, if you want to help improve what we're doing, it's actually helpful if you actually say, I don't like you guys because of this, or this movie is a movie that I hate, or you got this wrong on the movie, or whatever.
Your
Just give
vote
us a
matters.
reason. What's that?
Their vote matters.
Yes, absolutely. So, and also, if you don't like the movies that we're doing, suggest a movie. That's another thing. So,
We'll watch
um,
anything.
yeah. But
I
having
think
said,
we've proven that.
yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we'll be back next week for better or worse, and we're having fun with this anyway. But
Mhm.
we love what we do, even though we do this for us because we love movies. But I hope somebody enjoyed it. I hope somebody gets something out of what we do besides us. But we certainly like what we do. So, but anyway, Dom, having said all that, I will see you next week with Picnic and Hanging Rock.
Indeed. I look forward to it. I'll see you
Yeah.
then.
So, all right, I will see you next. I just had to give one more. I'm trying to set the now somebody's got to count these, and we'll see if in a later episode if we can outdo those and set a new record. But Dom, take care, buddy. This was fun. So talk to
Always
you next
fun.
week.
I'll see you next week.
See you next week.